I'm like, I woke you up too early. I'm so sorry.
Well, it's technically not really early, but we have people over yesterday night, and Africans.
Yes.
I was like, I'm going to bed. So yeah, but
no, it's okay.
yeah, I'm sorry for. Hi! Oh my gosh, look at Darnika. I love Darnika. I don't even know how to do this stuff. Like, I've done it like once or twice.
Is it?
Yeah, I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Yeah.
No, you're fine. It's perfect. Hey, Noella. It's nice to have you.
You look good, girl.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, seriously. You look really good.
Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's Sunday morning here. Yeah. I'm doing good. It's a lot has been happening. It's 2020. So, it depends on how many, I guess, how much time you have to unpack everything that is going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to begin, Noella, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from, where you grew up, and where you are currently, and why you are there.
Okay. Well, thank you for actually inviting me here. I'm like one of your biggest fan. You already know that. And for people who don't know, I don't know if you already said that, but we met in California, right? We met, in California. So I was born in the Congo, DRC, Kinshasa, because there are actually two Congo, and people are like, oh my gosh, I've been to Brazzaville. I'm like, well, I've never been to Brazzaville. That's another Congo. That's like the US and Canada, So I was born in DRC, but I've never been to Kinshasa, which is the capital city. It's huge. It's like the second largest country in Africa. So if you were born on the east, you probably have never been to the west side. So it's like a continent, and we love it. So yeah, I was born in the eastern part, which is called South Kivu. There is north and south, and I grew up in Bukavu. It's a small city, town called Bukavu. Yeah, and I migrated to the US. It's been a few years now. I live and I do my life here, but I love going back home. I mean, my heart is in Africa. Well, everybody who has met me. Yeah, my heart is there. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And tell us a bit about what you do, because like there's so many aspects to you, but one of the things is I could call you a humanitarian, I could call you an activist of sorts, and I could call you you're basically a world changer. You are a voice to the voiceless. You are, I don't know, you carry this fight in you, not only for your people, but just for this entire continent. So can you share a little bit of background regarding your work?
Okay, so I don't know if many people know this, but actually I was by people I'm saying you and people have met me before, but when I was I think I grew up with this like heart of justice. I wouldn't have even when we have like housekeepers back home, I would just be like, why are you giving them too much work, or why are they not going to school, or it was just something that was in me. But I think what really set me on fire was this organization.
Well,
yeah, when I was 14. I started when I was 14, and I did that for 5 years.
okay.
So I traveled the DRC, like, all over, and we'll do, basically our mission was to advocate for children, like kids who were involved in rebel groups, who were like 12, 13, which was, it's a story for another day. And girls who were raped. Basically, we're just advocating for children post-war that was happening in the Congo. And it was a big it was a big program because it covered like 90 to 85 radio station around the Great Lake region. And by that, I mean like Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, Congo, like, so that's what actually exposed me to the conditions of humans, starting with children. Even though like people, I was myself in the Congo, so I wasn't very exempt from what was happening, but I felt like I had a voice, and I had a privilege to go to school, to a good school, and I met so many kids who were, when we talk about homeless in America, I met children who were homeless. So that just never, like, I was never the same. I was just never the same. And for somebody who grew up in the Congo, we have a lot of tribes. It's like 450 tribes. Can you imagine, in one country? Yeah. So we have. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Are you serious? 450 tribes.
Yes. Yeah. So because of that, we have a lot of, tribal wars, as I call them, but we all know where it comes from. So you grow up very aware of your own tribe. For example, for me, I'm a Tutsi who happens to be Congolese. I was born in the Congo. My parents were born in the Congo. My grandparents. So, so we have always there is this war, there is this war happening in the Congo. There is this, people are longing for breakthroughs and longing for development and stuff. But there is also this just hatred that is against Tutsi who happen to be Congolese. It's just based on your physical futures, which you can change. But for me, I guess what really helped me was realizing that everybody's trapped, doing my, all that, during my travels and meeting kids from all over the world, all over the Congo, and just realizing that this is just not my tribe. I know we have issues, but realizing that, we are all trapped actually. And, the whole even the whole civil, what they call civil war, it's a government that is not being responsible to what they're supposed to be doing. So everybody's frustrated and they will unleash it to anyone. So that's, to answer your question, I guess that's where my humanitarian heart came from not just defending my own people, but everybody, realizing that as Congolese, everybody who is probably watching, who is in the diaspora, we all know why we left the country, and we all know that it's not one tribe that is responsible of all the issues. It's a government that is missing their purpose.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. And why, is it only the Tutsis who are affected, or is it the minority tribes who are affected?
So first, Tutsi are minority, and we have a lot of other minorities in the Congo. So to explain this, I think it's just I don't want to make it about but I can give an example. Let's say when we say Black Lives Matters, we are not saying that American lives don't matter. We are just saying that there is this one minority group that is actually suffering the most. So the Congolese people, every Congolese person that I know is crying for help, for a better country, for a better leadership. But the only thing when it comes to Tutsi, it's we are fighting a general war, but there is also another war against the Tutsi. So, for example, all my life I grew up being told, you don't belong here. You don't belong here. Look at your nose. Look at your physical features. I cannot tell you how many times, even in a classroom, and because we are a small minority, they'll tell you, go back to Rwanda, go back. It's just. I guess it's one thing to know that a whole country is going through a whole, war, but also I guess it's another thing to not feel accepted and to not feel like you belong in your own country. Wow. So, and I feel like it's the government is not doing enough to, if you make it a law, saying this is illegal to say this. This is illegal to discriminate. This is illegal to discriminate children in schools, or this is illegal to make hate speech. I feel like that would change, but it's we know that there are politicians in the Congo that run with that message, that hatred message, to actually get votes. If, for example, we have like candidates who say we are going to chase every alien or every foreigner in this country if you vote for me. So people, you know, when people are hungry, when people are tired of war, when people are tired of, you know, having like bad leadership, guess what they would do? They would try to find somebody to put all the blame on, and I feel like that's where we get the blame. Yeah, they would say that Tutsi people are responsible of everything that is happening in the Congo. Just like we are not even 1% of the country, you know, and most of our people live in the villages. They're not even educated. Why would they? You know, I'm like, just use logic. Why would you think that less than 1% in a country is actually causing? And most of people who actually say that are from the west side of the country who have never even been to the east. Who can even differentiate? Who can even tell who is Tutsi and who's not? But they catch that message. We just don't know. It's just like it's hard to explain. Why is it just that minority? But also there is an aspect where Congo has been a war before with neighbors. Like there is Rwanda that is a neighbor. There is Uganda. There is Tanzania. There is, and all those countries have done stuff in the Congo. But for some reason, it's just that because we look like Tutsi of Rwanda, everything is like on us. I'm like, wait, I went to school with you, and you know my house, and I just don't know why you think that I'm not from here. Yeah. So,
and your parents are from there, and your grandparents are from there. So even their generation face the same thing of like you don't belong here.
Yeah, yeah. So. My parents, I remember when I was really young, but I just remember my parents telling me we had this president called Mobutu, who I guess he had like better relationship with the I don't know, an ex-president of Rwanda and stuff, and then they got issues, and then somehow they decided to they were basically on a mission to bring all the Tutsi from the Congo to actually force them to go to Rwanda.
Sure.
Yeah, and it you know, I know that there are some Congolese here who are watching, and it's, you know, every time, that's the thing, when you're a minority, every time you try to raise your voice, people think you are trying to victimize yourself, you know, that, so you're saying that other Congolese are not suffering. I know every Congolese is suffering, and we're speaking. I personally speaking, all my work that I've done was even nothing towards my own people. It was always every other person. But when we have an issue, we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge and look and just realize, like, why am I blaming this to a minority that I've never met, that is not doing anything wrong? That, you know, it's, I guess the only way, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just, for me, I see that it's a frustration from a government that has failed to deliver what they have promised the people, and the only excuse that they have is to point fingers to somebody. Yeah.
And it's weird because, like, even in South Africa, there's tribalism. Like, the tribes in the north, are the ones who are blamed for a lot of things, even blamed or even told, you know, like there's a xenophobic problem in South Africa. They would even be told that you're not South African, you know, just by looking at someone's physique, you can't be South African, and these people are from South Africa. But the thing with what's happening in Congo, because there's tribalism and there's hatred in South Africa, but it doesn't go to the point where you're wiping out a whole generation of people. So there's something that needs to be exposed in terms of why do you need to get rid of 1% of this population? Like, what do they have? What does this 1% have that you so want, you know, or that you are so against? And I feel that, as you were saying, that if they get to like know that this is not logical, I think even when they have that thinking process, to them it's like, no, whatever, we've started this, every other generation has done this, so let's continue. And that's something that needs to change with this generation. The sad thing that I've seen is I haven't seen a lot of Congo like speak up against this, unless you are Tutsi.
Mm-hmm.
Which is sad. Even with every other injustice, it's always important to fight for other people, even when you are not affected. Most
That's true.
importantly, when you are not affected, because your privilege can actually help the people who don't have privilege in whatever reason, So it's interesting.
Yeah,
It's really,
it
really
is.
interesting.
It is very sad because, well, first, like, I mean, actually learned that also happens in South Africa. And I guess because the government is very firm and very clear, you can do this. But for us, as you said, it feels like this whole fight is it's just basically, nobody wants to pick up this fight. I even have friends who are influential, like journalists, and who are in government, who have a voice, and they will tell you clearly. They will tell you in private, I can't speak up. If I speak up, I'm gonna receive a backlash. If I speak up, I'm gonna lose followers. If I speak up, I'm gonna lose, my audience. So it's not like people are not aware. They are. We know that there are people are aware, but they're like, I don't know if I do this. I guess it's the fear of being different. It's
Okay.
It's just that if I speak up against this, I'm gonna be called Tutsi. Yeah, there are people who've tried and they're like, oh yeah, you are a Tutsi as well, like just like that, and they will cancel them basically.
Wow.
So yeah, it's not that they don't know. It's just it's the fear of standing up for something that is right, because you're going to you're going to yeah, that's what people send me threats everywhere, like, we are going to exterminate you and things, because if you speak up, and for me, I guess my question is always like, so once you are done exterminating us, do you think Congo is going to be the country that you want?
Sure.
So yeah, it's very sad that people don't want to speak up. And when you look at these international organizations, some have tried, but their reports are buried, because again, if it doesn't profit them in any way, they don't care. That's why I said it's our fight as Africans to teach our people to live together, to teach our people to, even in our own language, when we are very comfortable among ourselves, how do we talk about other people? Because if we wait for the Western world to come solve the issues in the Congo, it's so sad. A country that is huge, that it can fit so many other countries in the Congo. So you're just trying to get rid of one, like a population. So that what are you gonna do with that land, and what are you gonna do once they're gone? It's sad, because you even see educated people making comments like that, and yeah.
And what do you feel this generation needs in terms of like taking on fights, even when you're not affected, for you to stand up for someone else? Because there's this thing of racism throughout the world. Like there's this roar from people concerning racism, but they are unable to see the other injustices that they can actually have a voice in. Like it's not only racism that is a problem. Like look in your vicinity, look in Africa. Like besides the Congo, there was a coup recently in Mali. Do you know what happened there? There's so many things that are happening where the Western media, we know the Western media is all about showing Africa in a bad light. But what are we as a people going to do? As you've said, that if we wait for the West, why would we wait for the West if we have everything that we need to fight for justice here? If we have all the people that we need. So what do you feel that this generation needs in order to be a voice to the voiceless, instead of them only fighting when they are inconvenienced, or when something happens to my family or my friends? Now I have a voice, which is like it's not fair. It's not fair in all things, because if you already have a voice, why would you wait for calamity to come before you speak up? So something needs to change. What do you feel needs to change in our generation?
That's a good and actually big question. But I think it's just being aware. You know, it's funny because we met in a ministry school, right?
Yeah.
But you would think that if you went to ministry school, you just not even be aware of what's happening in the world. You know, that's from an African perspective. That's from where I come from. But I mean, when it comes to our continent, it is our business. We are so connected that we are so actually connected as a continent than we actually fail to admit.
Yeah.
Because what's happening in Mali is what has happened in South Africa, has happened in the Congo, has happened in every other country. So, yeah. I mean, I talk to young people on Twitter. I'm just like, if you're not doing your homework, I can't buy you a book and read it for you. You know, and then you can be lazy and complain. And you know, you can't advocate, you can't speak up if you're not educated on the subject. I understand some of them are very complex because, you know, sometimes you think it's our country, but it's probably France behind it, you know. But as people, as a young generation, we don't have an excuse. We have the internet, we have Google, we have everything to actually not be aware of what's happening in your own country. You know, I encourage everybody to. I'm not asking you to take on things that you don't feel like you are called to do or you're passionate about, but matters that, like anything that is in regards of our continent, it's our business. I don't know how else to say it in a way that people understand how important that we should stay woke. As people say, we should know what's happening. We should know what's happening in Mali. I have friends in Mali. I just don't know how to say it in a way that people understand that this is not any other. Nobody cares about the continent than Africans themselves. No one else cares about the well-being of our people than
the West have their intention when they help us.
Yeah. Yes, all those aids that they give to our countries. It is enslaving people. So, and being aware of what's happening doesn't mean that you are going to be like, I'm not asking you to be angry 24 hours, but being responsible will probably prevent the next generation to actually, you know, make mistakes that we probably did or our parents did. We have within ourselves, we have solutions. We have solution. We, you know, look at countries like, you know, Rwanda, or what is that other country in southern part of Africa? I forgot.
Which one?
We actually have this couple that came to BSSM that was from that country.
It's
Namibia.
There's
Namibia. Yeah, like those countries are doing well. You know, discover Africa, travel Africa. You know, that's the only way that you're going to be aware. You know, it's just so funny how our younger generation knows so much about the West than they know about Africa. The history that we learn in our history classes, geography that we learn in our classes, it's all about the West. It's all about Europe. Than our own African countries. Travel, travel to Namibia, travel to Tanzania. You don't have to, you don't have to make it a big deal, or you just be intentional in what you consume, in what you learn, in what you read. Because, I don't think that anyone comes to these countries, as an immigrant and is so proud, oh, I made it, You can live here for 10 years, 20 years, but then one day just wake up and feeling, this is not, I know that I have, this is no home. So, yeah, it doesn't cost so much to be in solidarity of other people.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you anything to raise awareness of what's happening, because the more we are aware, the less we are likely to be manipulated or invaded by, the West. I was talking to a friend yesterday who has worked in the Congo for like 30 years, and he was just telling me that as Congolese people don't read. We have all these books. They argue on the internet, but they don't read. When you argue with somebody who's not even trying to read about, it just becomes, it's like you're wasting your time. So it's something that when people see that you don't read, you're not aware of your own history, it's easy to manipulate you. Look at China. It's all over Africa now. And people just think it's just business. It's realizing that this is our home. We should be a generation that is so proud of, coming from Africa. You already know how proud I am of, but we have our own things, issues, but we have to be responsible enough to talk, to be intentional in learning, to be intentional in addressing issues, to not be coward just because it doesn't affect your country. Doesn't mean that you are not concerned, and I feel like that's Africa is all we got. It's really all we got.
Yeah. Sure. And the saddest reality, if you could study history, is to see even tribalism is a Western thing. Like, there was no tribalism before the colonists came. So you would understand that even my hatred for someone who has the same color skin as I do, who was born in the same continent, is useless. Like, it's basically useless, basically a waste of time. And it's also a hate for myself. If I hate brother, if I hate my sister, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would you hate someone of your kind?
Yeah, no, it is true. It's hating the reflection of yourself in someone else, basically. Like, even when we're talking about, all this, hatred because I look different, because I have this morphology, it's really started in the little conversation. I don't allow anyone to speak about somebody else. Oh, she's ugly, she's too dark, no, I don't tolerate that, because I know that this is how we just think that it's normal to think that we are not I'm trying to say it in a way that, but this is how it all starts, because the kids are listening and thinking, oh, so that person is ugly because they're too dark, or their nose is too wide, or their nose is too narrow, things like that. I think we have to be very careful in the way we address, the way we talk about ourselves as Africans, as different pigment. It's just so important. People don't realize that's how it feeds. If I look at somebody and the way I address that, and the way I talk about that person in my own circle, and say, oh, she's not part of, she's not part of us, she's too dark, or look at her physical, that what feeds into this whole, like, I guess it helps people who are trying to divide us. As you said, it's like divide so that you can conquer. It helps once you have kind of like put yourself into groups. We are from here, and we look like this, we speak like this, we have this kind of, and we are all guilty of that at some point. Yeah.
Sure. And what would you, in terms of like teaching what is really happening in the eastern part of Congo, what would you say? Because the news media is not saying anything. Like, no one is saying anything. There's no awareness, and this is like a big problem. So if you would share with someone what the realities of what is really happening, what would you say?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter. And I guess, I don't know, do you know how to link that? I don't know how people link that on Instagram. But you can probably follow Fee and Fee.
Yes, I will add the details.
Yeah, and you'll probably see what I've been posting there. But to kind of summarize what has been happening, for 3 years, we have gone through this war, or something that, for 3 years, they've been trying to exterminate Congolese Tutsi who live in the southern part of Kivu. For 3 years, we've been crying out for help. For 3 years, we have tried to raise awareness. We have approached everybody, including the Nobel Prize, Dr. Mukwege. We basically tried speaking up. They have raped women, mutilated their bodies, left to die. We have all the pictures and stuff like that. So for 3 years, we have tried to raise awareness, but for some reason, the words are not going out. They're not getting out. Instead, they will just call it, oh, it's another civil war. It's another war between tribes, but it's not, For 3 years, the government hasn't done anything. It's just remained quiet, and I guess hoping that, once, I don't know, we don't know who's responsible for that. We don't know who started that whole thing. But they've burned about 400 villages, burned down, and killed all the cows, about like probably 15,000.
Sure.
Because all the villages. I mean, I would say that the villages. People like from our villages are usually known for. All they do is like, it's church and their cows. So they burned all the villages, and I think, remember last year when I posted about my grandpa who went missing? It was because of that, and he actually passed away in March. He was he couldn't live in the city. He was very lonely, and so the result of that, we have had so many deaths. We have, it's just it's a chaos, and we are trying so hard. We are not saying ignore everybody in the Congo. We are not saying it's only our lives that matter, but we are trying just to say, stop killing people, stop killing Banyamulenge, save Mulenge. And I think from a human, from a human perspective, for everybody who's watching, I'm just like, if you're trying to save, if you're advocating for Black people in America, it's the most human thing to do, to advocate for people who are being killed. So that's what we're trying to get out. Please save Mulenge. Let civilians live in peace in their own mountains. And so for 3 years we've been doing that. And it's just so sad because so many people are now in Uganda, refugee camps everywhere. But the people are still there, and we are hoping that it's going to stop. We are just hoping, it will just take one word from the government to say this needs to stop.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that. They're just playing around,
Wow.
Just like, oh, we are going to send a delegation to see what's happening. And even when the U.S. embassy, talks about it, it's like they will talk about it as a general thing, saying there are unrest between tribes and ethnicities in the eastern part. But I'm like, no, just, what is the issue? You know that for 3 years, even neighboring tribes admit that openly. They're saying we don't know what's happening, but they're chasing all these Tutsi, all these Banyamulenge out. So for everybody who's watching, we just need you to, be aware of what's happening. If you use any social media, just go ahead and just raise awareness. We have a hashtag called Save Mulenge. You don't have to be from the Congo, and you don't have to, even if you're from the Congo, I hope you are different and you are not fitting into this whole thing about dividing us, that they're Rwandese, even if somebody was from Rwanda, or even if somebody was from Uganda, they deserve to live and not die, so that you can prove your point. Because when this happens, if it happens somewhere else, I've advocated for Bunia. If you're from Congo, you know what has been happening in Bunia, in Beni. I've done all the advocacy about that, and I expect every younger generation to not feed into older generation who don't understand that we are one and we're not going anywhere. If we don't solve these issues, we will continue to bite one another, kill one another, and just, help whoever is trying to divide us. It will make it easier for them.
Yeah. So as Noella shared, I think one of the thing that doesn't even take the most effort is just to share the hashtag on your pages.
Yes.
I've shared the page on my personal page and on the Ntute page, where you can learn more about the Save Mulenge, and just put it everywhere. How powerful hashtags are. And because sometimes we don't see how powerful our pages are But if you, like Umi just asked, and she's in the UK, and if she just posts and someone else from the UK sees, and then they learn about them, and then they also post, like it creates a big momentum. So just sharing the hashtag, learning from Twitter. Like I'll share Noella's page. I'm just learning what is exactly happening right there. And what else? What else can people do? Sign petitions. I saw that there's a petition that you've put up.
Yeah, from actually the UK. For me who asked, there is a petition from, I think, a lawyer from the UK who has been trying to get the word out as well. He started a petition saying "Save Mulenge, Save Banyamulenge." Yeah, as he said, yeah, you can also you can follow my page on my Twitter and things like that. Yeah, I would say it's petition. We just need to get the word out. That's where it starts. For now, we just need the massacre to stop. Helping with medical and things, I think that will come after. But for now, we just need the massacre to stop. And somebody said that it's politicians that are trying to divide us. Yes, but what can we do once we know that they're trying to divide us? It's actually it's to stand for you on behalf of your brother and sister who probably doesn't look like. I think that's the only way we can counterfeit that, because people will sit and say, yeah, politicians are trying to divide us. They're doing this for but what are we doing as people to actually stop that? All we need, it's not political. I always tell people advocacy is not political. To stand up for people is not political. To ask people to save Mulenge is not political. It's in the Congo. If you love Congo, it doesn't matter which political side you are on. If you love it, you would want that blood to stop in Mulenge. It's part of the Congo. So that's what he's been doing. And yeah, I encourage everyone who is here has a voice. No one chose this. To be born in Africa is to be born an activist, period. You don't have a choice. You cannot be complacent and say that even if you migrate, you become an American, British, or unless I don't know what people do, but I feel like if you were born in Africa, you have to be in the ring and try to do what you can. Yeah.
And I think the most important thing for our generation is to understand the power of unity, because even when you look at like what the West has done to stir up division is to bring this unity. Even with the tribalism, like the tribalism was a tactic used it started with the Britons to separate tribes, to bring disorder within tribes, so there's just hate between. Even our tribalism in South Africa is because of that. Even like Stella even shared, because of the legacy of apartheid. The way why xenophobia is so violent is because of what had happened in the past, which is still continuing. And there's this thing of not understanding that, guys, we are literally one. Like the Bantu people are from Southern Africa going up into Central Africa. So you literally fighting your own brethren. You're literally fighting your own brother. So what we need for this generation to understand the power of unity. The power of understanding your brother, understanding your sister, the power of living out of your own comfort zone. Because one thing that I always love to challenge South Africans is because we have this American thing of thinking we're the only people on planet Earth, or we are the blessed part of Africa. And it's God, Africa is big. There are so many countries, there are so many tribes, and if you live in this bubble of thinking that you're the best, that bubble will burst one day.
Yes.
And you don't know what it will look like. So if you choose to live out of the bubble and choose to mingle with other people and see that this bubble that I'm living in is not sustainable, there's more to the world than just my bubble, and to understand why there's an attack on Africans. The more you fall in love with Africa, then you understand that while this continent has everything, in terms of
Yes.
everything, from people to resources to knowledge and wisdom. We literally have everything, and because of this chaos that has been created by them, because of this unity, because of our brothers being sold, slavery, everyone is just scattered. There's this thing of not knowing our worth, and we need to rediscover our worth, and we can't discover it alone. We need to find someone else, and we need to unify with other people to actually know better and to fight better and to work together.
Yeah, it's true. I agree. Unity is, you said it very well. Unity is our power. There's no way around it, you know. And the more, as you said, actually, like when you fall in love with Africans, for me that happened. I think we're talking about like what happened at BSSM, and that was like the best thing that happened when I went to music school was like falling in love with my own people, and that includes all blacks, like, you know, African Americans, African, like everybody. It's just, I guess I was, for the first time, I understood the unity that we are one, and when you fall in love with the Africans, you are unstoppable, because people, like, you see, like, once you start getting close to, let's say, you know, Black Lives Matters, or when you start hashtagging, if it's a word, like Save Mulenge, or, you know, Save Congo, or Save South Africa, like, you know, people will start telling you the first thing that is against unity. People will start telling you that's political. You shouldn't get involved. You know, have you checked who is organizing this? Have you learned about the person who started this? And I think that's where people stop, and, you know, they're like, oh, I don't want to get involved, because, but if you are in love with Africans, and if you have realized you are at peace with who you are as an African, nothing is going to stop you. I don't care who starts something. I just care about the result, you know?
Yeah.
So the more you fall in love with Africans, the more the war, whatever is affecting Africa affects you, you know? And it's actually in a very healthy way, realizing that we are one, realizing that there is diversity and it's beautiful. I've been to so many countries, and there is nothing like Africa. And man, just being in a sea of people who are Africans, and it doesn't matter, they can be white or black, but it's just like that. When we call it motherland, it's really, there is something motherly about it. So don't let anything stop you from achieving the unity mission that you want to see, because they will start making you feel like this is political, this is not our people, this is, and get rid of, like, not get rid, but process the hurt and the wounds, everything that has probably like affected you in the past. We all have been through war, and we've all been, I've been in a refugee camp. So if I stay there and saying, these people made me go to a refugee camp, or these people made me lose my uncles and my nephews and my cousins, I'll be stuck there. I won't see what God, I'm preaching now, I won't see what God is doing in Africa now. So, and it will be hard for me to feel compassion toward somebody who's from maybe that tribe that attacked us, you know what I mean? So I think we need to, as people, we need, especially as this generation, let's not waste time into the past and really work so hard toward that unity that we need to see in Africa. Yeah.
That is so true. Because even with what's happening in Mali, like the West is calling it, oh, this is bad, you know, and as Africans, we know that, oh, this is good. Because Mali, like coups are like an awakening of sorts, and just an irritation of the people, because Mali has been protesting for so many years,
right,
over the same thing. The West has been there. France, which is benefiting. Like how much is France making just from Mali alone? You know, like
the retirement.
We'll talk about that. So the thing that this generation needs to understand is the West benefits financially from us being disorganized, being not unified. Like they benefit, even with what's happening in the East, they benefit more when they don't even shine the spotlight with what's really happening there, than if they would actually speak up the truth, you know?
Yeah.
We are we are chatting now on a phone, and it's because of that conflict. It's because of what's happening there. And we don't even know how much money has been taken, that it didn't even go back into Congo because of such things, you know? This generation needs to understand that the more we keep quiet, the more we continue to hate each other, the more we look at politicians or blame everything or look at everything as being political, than actually studying and actually analyzing it from a good perspective, then we're going to continue to lose ourselves. We're going to continue to lose Africa. We're going to continue to just be, we're going to continue to disintegrate and be less as the West has always spoken about.
The narrative go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, when we rise, when we unify, when we learn how to help those who can't help others, like, it's important to use your privilege. This privilege thing is not only about white privilege versus black privilege. Like, I am privileged from where I grew up. I am privileged. So how can I use my privilege to help those who can't, or those who don't have the privileges that I have? So we need to start analyzing things from that perspective and actually fight for our motherly beautiful land.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree that narratives and, narrative do matter. Like, what the West show is the picture of Africa really matter. Like, you see how when you're here, I think it's really, again, what I was saying, it's hard to go back and change things, but we can learn to do better, like, in the process. If people use narratives to actually create conflict among tribes, we can use the same narrative to actually build ourselves up, Look at history books that we read home. It's European history. Somehow I know the history of, like, the monarch and whatever in France more than I know about Congo. So it's hard to love, like, your own, like, other tribes or other countries if you don't know their history. If the way they write about their history is not about, like, you read about this and, it's just, if I read a history book, let's say about Mali, and I say, Mali is such, oh my gosh, I was reading actually about the history. Mali is one of, like, the ancient kingdoms that, if I don't read about that, then I don't have that beautiful image that I want to uphold, in the light of, like, this is Mali, So we don't have that. And as young people, we don't share stories. I've never sat with anyone like you, like, from South Africa, and talk about Africa, But when this is created, I know that I have a sister in South Africa. I know that you can visit home. I can visit you, or, it's just what we feed ourselves, what we read in our books, what it really matters. Like, and I think that's how the West has really used tribes, tribalism, because of the narrative that we read. We always think that I was actually joking with one of my bosses who is white, and I was just saying, I was like, for Africans, the white person is always a good person. They will never assume anything bad from you. And he was just laughing. He was like, that's so sad, because actually it's quite the opposite. So I think it's the stories that we talk about, the stories that we share, the books that we read, it really matters, Yeah.
So true. And now we understand why there's an attack. Because even when you look at the country, Ethiopia wasn't colonized, or Italy tried, like, for 4 years, and they ran away. The Ethiopians sent them packing. And when you look at Ethiopia now, like, outside the lens of the West, like, they speak their own language, they know their own history, like, it's things that most African countries don't have. We don't learn our history. We don't even have books in our libraries that are predominantly from African authors. Like, they're all from the West. So what does that teach a young child? It's like, we are worthless. We don't
Yes.
have the resources, or we don't have people with an imagination. And there are so many amazing writers. There are so many amazing stories. There's such a rich wealth in Africa, and you're so right that we need to actually look into it and tap into it and discover who we are.
Yeah, you just mentioned the history of Ethiopia. You know, there are reasons why they were not colonized. They resisted. So imagine reading a book about brave Ethiopians who somehow defeated, Europeans' colonization. Then people start realizing that it's possible to decolonize ourselves fully.
Yeah. So okay, the best thing that we've had from our chat, it didn't even just go towards you fighting for the Congolese Tutsis, but to show that you've been fighting for everyone, because you don't see the thing that they want you to see, or the thing that the hatred that they want you to carry as a Congolese Tutsi. You don't have that hatred. You just have this heart for unity, this heart to unify, this heart to fight for every voice, fight for everyone. And what are your future plans
for Congo? Wow. Honestly, I guess I don't know if it's a plan or a dream, but I want to see people united, and I'm not afraid for how long it's going to take, because I know that every battle that I win now, the next generation is not going to have to fight it. And I can already see change in the community, the way people address one another. I don't allow people to talk about divisive speeches, even when they think it's funny. I don't let that happen around me. And you can see, change seems to be change seems to be unattainable. It's like you can't attain it, but you can see a little bit marks of a change. You can see that people that you hang with, if my group is diverse, if I have South Africans, Ghanaian, Nigerians, Congolese from other tribes, it makes such a huge difference. That's where change starts. So my future plans is not a plan. It's just my love for my country, my love for my continent is the plan. That's the plan itself. And I want to expand. I want to travel Africa. I want to go from Egypt to Cape Town and and sit with people that I would never thought that I could actually sit with. And so because I'm not a politician, I guess I don't have plans, but I want to raise awareness. I am writing now. I don't know if it's going to be a book or it's going to be just poems, but I want to raise awareness and tell people. It feels like I've been, I don't know how to say it in a way that it doesn't sound like, it's like you've been, even for you, Fee, it's like you've been in the future and you've seen why people are trying to divide you, and you try to not let that happen. So that's how it feels like. It feels like I've understood why. I have understood the power of unity that can be a threat for other people, and I'm committed to pursue that. Yeah. So yeah, and we are going to keep raising awareness of what's happening in Mulenge. We'll keep sharing save Mulenge hashtag. I hope that's the only thing that I can do. Sometimes I wake up and feel like it's not going to happen. We've tried so hard, but I refuse to be complacent. I refuse to not do anything. And yeah.
Banyamulenge are a Tutsi Congolese community that migrated from Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania almost 3 or 4 centuries ago into Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. But other communities have been rejecting the Banyamulenge, so saying that they are non-Congolese, they don't have the right to live on the land. That has been supported by different regimes in the Congo.